In this video, I want to start working on the replication issues that appear, let me go ahead and do live coding one more time, that appear whenever we try to use the shop as a client. So for example, I'm playing as a client right now, I press E, click on an item, nothing happens. And when I close it, I still get these errors, but these can be ignored for the time being because they are not our focus. So what's happening is when we call our use item, where we would normally check if we were, obviously a shop item, we would go through, perform all the server related stuff that we would need to do to use the item. Like for example, when I call use, or sorry, let me rephrase that. When we would go through, we would do an authority check. This is going to fail because we're the client, so we're going to run the else statement, in which case we go through and we call the use function on the client. We also want to go through and pass in is shop item so that way we're not actually, physically using the item. And then we want to go through and call the server use item. Server use item then goes through and we do iterate through each of the items to check and see if we have that actual item in the inventory, And if we do, we go through, we use the item, and we pass in as the shop item. However, what we're doing in here is not really going to work because if it is a shop item, it's obviously not going to be in our inventory. So we're never going to call use item on the server. We're just not. So this is going to fail right here because it's never going to hit. So what we can do is we can, go a different route and simply call the use item, but instead do it kind of on, the client, or not the client, sorry, the kind of the same route that we're doing. So let's think of as if this was false. So we go through, we make our way, let's say we're using our own inventory item, in which case this would run just fine. So we call use item again, but this time from the server. So this will be successful. So in which case we want to actually ignore this. We would go back to like our food. We call the remove hunger. So inside of remove hunger, we go through, let's see. Remove hunger. Why? Oh, there it is. Duh. In which case we just subtract from our hunger and is if locally controlled, we remove stats and so on. So the only way we can call or deal with this is by technically doing it on the client and the server, so that way it updates instantly, but the server remains authoritative over the value. We need to kind of follow that same footprint to perform the transfer of the items to our inventory. So to begin, let's start from the else statement, which is going to run first on our client. So we go through, we call use. It's going to do the shop item check, which is this code here. So it's going to add it to the inventory on the client. This probably wouldn't be a bad idea to do on the server, because if we look at when we go through and, if we have authority, we would go through, use the item. If it's locally controlled, we call the onRep inventory items, which updates our inventory. That's really all it's doing. So we have this ability to trigger this function from the server. Because we're going to be updating it, we kind of want to be able to do the same sort of deal. So to begin, let's go to our, where in the world am I at? Use item. Call use item on the client. This we don't necessarily care about. We could do the check on the client and then, do the same exact thing on the server. You do have the possibility of it getting out of sync, but it's very unlikely because you're going to be sharing the money with the server as well. So that's going to be updating on kind of on both, but the server is going to remain authoritative. So it does not necessarily matter. If anything, you'll just have a visual bug. So worst comes to worst, you log out of the server, come back in, you're good to go. We add the item that way, which calls add item to inventory, which goes through if we're at the server. Then we add the item. So this is going to fail. It's not going to run any of this, so we don't have to worry about it. But on the server, we make our way, we call use item. Again, I think I already explained it, but this is always going to fail because is shop item is going to be true. So if is shop item, let's run an else for this for loop here. So that runs. But if it is the shop item, what we want to do is just go back and call use item like so. So that way we know that it's going to run. And then it should go through, add it on the server, and be handled that way. So let's give that a try. Okay, we hit play. And let's just see what happens. I click, and as you can see, the item now appears over there. There's a tiny bit of latency, but that's okay. So I press I, we now have the items. I can go through and use them like I'm supposed to. So that is perfecto. So what might the issue be? Let's go to our item.cpp. So we go through, we use it, we add the item to the inventory. That's going to be handled on the server. That's fine. I'm trying to figure out what that little error that keeps popping up is because it's a little annoying. But anyways, we have the item transferring working on the client. So we are good to go there. We know we're, kind of in sync. In the next video, I kind of want to go ahead and get rid of that error. So whenever we click on the inventory, close it, this comes up. I got to figure out where this is coming from because I do not know where the server would be triggering this from. So I will see you in the next video. I got to figure that out. And anyways, that's going to be the end of this one. If you like what I'm doing and you want to help support me, you can find a link to my Patreon down in the description below, where I have a Team Deathmatch series just for Patrons, as well as you get early access to pretty much all of my videos, such as this one. If you have any questions or anything like that, feel free to join my Discord server that's also linked down below, and I'll try to help you out. So, I'll see you in the next video.